Okay, so this is my presentation of learning. This is my presentation of learning. So my project is what I call a hangout, with the goal being to create a space where freshmen can meet new people, have someone to reach out to, and socialize. So this is my yearly recap. So from November to the present day, I was meeting and interning with a clinical psychologist down in Montclair, and I would drive down to her like once every week or like once every 2 weeks, and we would just meet, discuss any like questions I had. She kind of helped me bring all my thoughts together when trying to think of a project, an event I can do. So that was really helpful. And then in January, I attempted to create a survey which I wanted to send out to all the students at the high school, although because of some of the content and the questions I wanted to ask, administration did not allow me to do that. So there were some setbacks there, but that was completely fine because it did lead me into drafting this new plan, which is what I did in February. And I created a new idea that it would not revolve around relying on the high school and just allowed me to have more creative freedom myself and just take more control. And then in March, due to some unreliable freshmen, I turned to putting my announcements out on the SGO Instagram page about my events, and I would just state that it was freshman specific. And I did that until the freshmen were able to create their own Instagram account, which then I moved on to putting my posts on there instead of like the school wide account. So on April 14th, my first meeting was held. And then throughout May, I continued to hold these events, even though I wasn't getting any participants. And then in June, this past recent week, I had my first very successful event, and it went really great. So, this is an example of the story posts that I would put on the Instagrams. So, I would just kind of give like an overall post, which is all the way to the left. In the center, you have my like day before post that I would do, and then all the way to the right, that would be like the day of. And I just kind of gave like a quick little blurb, the date, time, and then like my contact information if they need to reach out. So I had my first meeting in April, and unfortunately, there were no participants. And I have a picture here. I kind of set myself up in the gazebo at Simons Park because I just thought that would be like a nice place where we can meet, like sit down and talk. But even though there were no participants, it was completely fine by me because it kind of gave me a lot of time to reflect on it. So with this, I continued to post more info and updates. I thought it would be more beneficial to post the exact location where I would be sitting, which is something I didn't really think about before. But like when people would pass through the park and I wasn't sure if they were like could have been looking for me, they didn't know exactly where to go. I thought it would be beneficial to create some video story posts to just kind of increase the comfortability of people who may be interested in humming. And I was thinking of creating some story polls where I can just kind of hear back from students to see what they would want to do, how they like if they would want to engage in this, like kind of more fun games events that they would like. So this is my most recent event from June 2nd, and it was really great. I ended up having 9 participants, and the picture here is a picture I took at the event, and then the photo on the right is kind of like the flyer I did for that. And as you can see, it was more like specific as to what I was doing. And so the result of the event was I had 9 participants. I talked to everyone like throughout and at the end, and they all really did seem to love it. And like it was interesting because some of them even asked me like, "Oh, like is this something you've been doing?" Because like I guess they weren't aware of it. So I feel like word of mouth now from them to their peers is also going to help a lot. And after I like reflected on this experience, and I realized that preparing and headlining events does make a very large impact. Like for this event, I specifically headlined like a spike ball tournament, like bring ice pops, bring towel, like come hang out. It was a very nice day. So I feel like that definitely was beneficial. And it really did help build my confidence for future events I will hold now that I know what to do better and now that I have gotten students to come. So, what I'm going to be doing now that the school year is kind of coming to an end, I'm still going to hold my hangouts every Wednesday for the remainder of the year. So, I will have about two left. And I think from there, I'm going to be kind of taking a break for the summer and then starting it off again, like a little before the school year starts up again. And then into next year, I definitely want to continue this project. I'm gonna keep being like active on social media accounts, kind of get more feedback and reach out to more students. And next year, especially, I do intend on branching out and holding events in different locations, like just kind of switching up, like doing things like on the other side of town, meeting at a cafe now that like COVID guidelines are opening things up more, maybe going on like a hike or a trail, I thought would be a good idea. But overall, I definitely will not be ending this project as the year comes to a close because this is something I found was very successful and I was interested in a lot. So, some of the habits of mine that I really got in touch with throughout my project is, of course, reflectiveness. As I mentioned throughout, after each event, I would really take the time to sit and reflect on what I could do better, what I did well in, things I needed to change. So that was very helpful for me. Second is confidence. And I feel like it's very difficult to have like these events for me and like week after week because I would still show up and stay there for the full hour each week. And so, like, for kids to continue to not show up, it did tear on my confidence quite a bit. Although I realized that things won't change unless I make them change. And then when I did get my first group of kids last week, it really helped build my confidence. And now I feel a lot more motivated than I was before to like make these events even better. And third, I have mindfulness. And with this, I feel like I really had to put my thoughts in the head of a freshman because I had to be mindful of what would I go to if I were them? Like what event would I go to? How can I bring them out. And I also had to be mindful of the fact that, like, this is a busy time, especially with COVID going on. Some kids may not be comfortable coming out and, like, meeting people they don't know or, like, leaving their house. So that was something I really kept thinking about throughout and trying to find ways around or helpful like tips when planning these events. And lastly, I have gratitude, and I just feel really grateful for this experience and the project I have built, especially because I've just become so passionate about this topic. And it's something I found that like I absolutely want to continue this next year, which is super great. And I was just very happy about that in general. And even like the connections I was able to make with some of these students who showed up and it was just really great. So this is something I really enjoyed doing, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.